morning, everyone. Today is February 28th, and this is our regular commission meeting. Go ahead and call the meeting to order. And Mark, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, move on to item number 3, roll call.
Commissioner District 1, Randy Netherland.
I am here.
Commissioner District 2, Kevin Schutte. Commissioner District 3, Sharon Trask.
I'm here. Thank you. Move on to item number 4, correspondence and organizational business. Do we have any correspondence to report?
We do. The Washington State Liquor and Cannabis Board sent in the following: special occasion liquor license application for the Allen Community Association, liquor license renewal application information, notice of cannabis license discontinuation for Mayflower Partners, notice of liquor license discontinuation for Summertide Resort, notice to cannabis licensees on firearms, notice of cannabis license approval for Perfect Plant LLC, and liquor license application for Model T Pub and Eatery. Advisory board applications were received from the following: Thomas Duffield, Delroy Cox, Linda Links, and Chad White applied for the Solid Waste Advisory Committee, and Dennis Hamilton applied for the Parks Advisory Board. Comcast sent in notification regarding a fee increase for broadcast TV from $26.30 to $26.85, and United Way sent in event information regarding their spring dessert and gift auction.
Great, thank you. Moving on to item 4.2, a Planning Advisory Commission news release. Kel?
Good morning. Kel Rowan with Mason County Planning. Okay, we do have a vacancy on the Planning Advisory Commission. So Mason County is seeking a motivated and engaged individual to serve as a volunteer member of the Planning Advisory Commission. The Commission will play a crucial role this year and next in updating the county's comprehensive plan, which outlines the vision and goals for the county's future growth and development. There's one open seat represented as either Commissioner District 2 or 3, and that's in the Shelton, Union, Hoodsport, Matlock, Lilliwaup, Camilche area. The Planning Advisory Commission is a 7-member citizen board appointed to advise the Board of County Commissioners on policies related to amendments to the Comprehensive Plan, Shoreline Master Program, Resource Ordinance, and other development regulations, including making recommendations on rezone applications. The Commission typically meets once per month on the 3rd Monday at 6 p.m., with special meetings scheduled as necessary. Appointed commissioners normally serve a 4-year term. The Commissioner at District 2 or 3 position will be filling a vacancy set to expire in January of 2026. Applications to serve on the board are being accepted until the position is filled and should be submitted to the Mason County Commissioners, 411 North 5th Street, Shelton, Washington, 98584. Application forms may be obtained from the Commissioner's office at 360-427-9670, extension 419, or you could visit our website at www.masoncountywa.gov.
Thank you. Item 4.3, the Shoreline Master Program User Guide news release. Marissa?
Good morning.
Good morning.
The following news release is for community input for the Mason County Shoreline Master Program User Guide. Mason County is developing a Shoreline Master Program, SMP, User Guide to better convey regulatory provisions, mitigation requirements, and development allowances within shoreline jurisdiction. Shoreline jurisdiction roughly includes areas 200 feet landward and in-water marine shorelines, lakes 20 acres or greater, rivers of a certain size, and associated wetlands. You can find this information at masoncounty.wa.gov/community-services/update/SMP-SED-08217. This guide will be made available as an interactive online website on the County Community Development webpage. The public is invited to provide feedback within the next month to guide this effort through the following survey link: www.surveymonkey.com/r/Z77F6NC. This project is made possible through a Department of Ecology grant with work set to conclude by the end of June 2023. Thank you.
Thank you. And item 4.4, the Mason County Historical Preservation Commission's Historical Building Structure or Place Plaque Program.
Yeah, it's a mouthful. Morning, Luke Viscusi, staff member for the Mason County Historic Preservation Commission. The Mason County Historic Preservation Commission is pleased to announce the launch of the Historical Building, Structure, or Place Plaque Program. The Mason County Historic Preservation Commission administers the plaque program to acknowledge the historical value of buildings, structures, or places in Mason County that should be considered historically important, possess unique architectural or other characteristics, are associated with important events in Mason County history, or some or all of these values. While not the same as having a property listed into the Mason County Historic Register, the plaque program acknowledges and recognizes our county's historical places through a simpler process, culminating in the award of a mountable plaque, which can be seen here. Applying for a plaque is straightforward. Fill out the application form with the history and historical associations of a building, structure, or place. Then attach photos or other relevant documentation and either submit in person to Luke Viscusi at the Mason County Planning Department, 615 West Alder Street, Shelton, Washington, 98584, or by email to hpc@masoncountywa.gov. The digital application can be found on our website at masoncountywa.gov/historic/plaque-program.php. Hard copies can also be picked up at the Mason County Assessor's Office, 411 North 5th Street, Shelton, Washington, 98584, the Mason County Historical Society Museum, 427 West Railroad Avenue, Shelton, Washington, 98584, or the Mason County Planning Department, 615 West Alder Street, Shelton, Washington, 98584. If you are considering applying for a plaque and have questions, please feel free to call Luke Viscusi at 360-427-9670, extension 282, or contact the Mason County Historic Preservation Commission via email at hpc@masoncountywa.gov. Thank you, and thank you again for, I assume in the past, having supported the purchase of these plaques. We have a plaque that says Place of Interest and a House of Interest plaque as well. So see what applications we get, and hopefully we'll mount a few by the end of the year.
Very cool. Thank you. All right, let's move on to item number 5. This is open forum for citizen input. This is the time we set aside for citizens to come forward and speak to us regarding items that are not on the agenda. So do we have anyone in the room? I don't see anyone in the room, but I do see Ken. Ken, if you could state your name and where you live, that would be great.
Good morning, Commissioners. Ken Van Busker. I'm from Belfair. I haven't heard much about the traffic mitigation effort on Highway 3 and Ridgetop Boulevard since my email to the Commissioners and to Mr. Larson of the WSDOT. There were 2 different TIAs that were done for that intersection and who would install that mitigation. Commissioner Nevlin told me that there's some behind-the-scenes action going on, but the general public's pretty oblivious and pretty frustrated. The apartments are now actively signing roads all the way to Gorse and to Port Orchard, advertising those new apartments. And they even had a human sign spinner out there last weekend spinning a giant sign. I have heard from a lot of my friends and neighbors that are disappointed that the bypass has supposedly been pushed back 2 more years. And lots of folks think that the road building that's going on with the sewer extension up by the water tower is to provide public vehicle access from the new development to the MTA roundabout. In my opinion, there should be a press release put out that informs the public that that access is for emergency vehicles only. The other thing I recently became aware of is that the owners of the proposed 100 apartments on Roybode Road want to start construction this spring. That's just 3 weeks away. And they submitted a SEPA last fall that I was unaware of. Their SEPA didn't get any public comments, but they did get a comment from WSDOT requiring a traffic impact analysis. I feel that WSDOT is perhaps overlooking the cumulative effect of all these projects and worry about concurrency requirements and traffic impact fees as were recently addressed and adopted in the recent EIS. One area of concern that WSDOT has overlooked for their TIA request to the Roybode Road, or apartments, excuse me, is the intersection of Burger Claim and SR3. They should be aware, and I think folks should be aware, many folks use that as a shortcut to avoid the traffic light and the endless congestion. Please slow down this process so that transportation issues can be addressed here in Belfair. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Ken. Do we have anyone else that would like to address the commission?
Hey.
All right, seeing none, we will move on to item number 6.
Madam Chair, I move for adoption of today's agenda as presented.
And I will second. We have a motion and a second to adopt the agenda as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Moving on to item number 7, approval of minutes.
Madam Chair, I move for the approval of the January 3rd, 2023, February 6th, 2023 briefing minutes and the February 7th, 2023 regular meeting minutes as presented.
And I will second that. We do have a motion to approve the January 30th, 2023 and February 6th, 2023 briefing minutes and February 7th, 2023 regular meeting minutes. Any discussion? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to item number 8. Approval of our action agenda. Commissioners, oh my goodness, will read through the action agenda. Items can be removed for separate discussion and vote. Commissioner Netherland, if you could take item 8.1 through 8.9, and I'll take 8.10 through 8.11 or 15.
Just one comment. When the next time we have a briefing, we add all these things after the fact for the last day, we need to make sure all 3 commissioners are here. That's all I read. Just kidding. It's all good. All right. Item number 8.1 reads, approval of warrants and treasurer's electronic remittance, claims clearing fund, warrants number 8093928 through 8094207. The amount, $831,070.99. Direct Deposit Fund, warrants number 94015 through 94409, the amount $811,878.47. Salary Clearing Fund, warrants number 7007169 through 7007204, the amount $1,110,828.10. Treasurer's Electronic Remittance, $2,348,510.83. Item number 8.2, approval of the resolution adopting Public Works policy regarding preservation of survey monuments within the county right-of-way. Item number 8.3, approval of the Public Works Director to sign the letter agreement extending the term of agreement between the City of Bremerton, Port Orchard, and Mason County to December 31st, 2023. approval to create and fill a financial analyst position in Superior Court and reclassify a secretary position to a judicial assistant position and a judicial assistant position to a lead judicial assistant position. Item number 8.5, approval of the Washington State Parks and Recreation Commission interagency agreement number IA 123-503 to survey for and control noxious weed species within the state parks in Mason County for a period of March 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2025. Item number 8.6, approval of the Washington State Department of Agriculture interagency agreement number K4369 to survey for and control giant hogweed within Mason County for the period of February 15th, 2023 to December 31st, 2024. Item number 8.7, approval of the Washington State Department of Commerce Consolidated Homeless Grant Contract number 22-46108-20, Amendment E, and the Community Action Council Professional Service Contract number CAC 2021 through 2023, CHGHEN Amendment number 1 for the increased amount of $76,933. Item number 8.8, approval of the resolution amending Mason County personnel policy to include updates for grammar and plain talk language, section 4.5.1, to include the county's administrator as advising party to chair and presiding judge during emergency closures. Section 4.8, payroll records procedure to include the auditor's office. Section 5.2.2, lead pay, and Section 5.2.3, out of class pay to include county administrator authority per resolution number 2022-033. Section 5.3.1, definitions of eligible employees for longevity. Section 5.4, reclassification to include language from request form positions in open negotiations and providing a 60-day window for response. Section 7.2.3, leave accrual to remove confusing language around sick leave, and Chapter 14, travel policy to include advanced travel. Item 8.9, approval of the reclassification for Stephen Thur in Public Health and Human Services from accounting technician to senior accounting technician, step 1.
Item 8.10, approval of the resolution reflecting a 2.5% increase between steps 9 and 10 for all ranges and the retitling of the following positions: Senior Deputy Coroner to Deputy Coroner, Clerk of the Board Record Specialist to Clerk of the Board, Risk and Safety Compliance Manager to Risk Manager, Program Manager 1 to Solid Waste Manager, and Administrative Manager to Prosecuting Attorney Administrative Manager. Item 8.11, approval of the Memorandum of Understanding with Teamsters Union Local 252 Appraisers Unit to add lead worker language around Title 10 of the current 2022 through 2024 collective bargaining agreement. Item 8.12, approval of the Memorandum of Understanding with Woodworkers Local Lodge W338 IAM Corrections and Support Staff to correct a Scrivener's error to the Appendix A wage table for the current 2022 through 2024 collective bargaining agreement. Item 8.13, approval of the Memorandum of Understanding with Woodworkers Lodge, Local Lodge W38 IAM, Mason County Office of Public Defender or Defense to add lead pay language to Article 6 wages and benefits for the current 2021 through 2023 collective bargaining agreement. Item 8.14, approval to sign the letter of support supporting a holistic jail system study and analysis for the establishment of a jail modernization task force. Item 8.15, approval to sign the letter of support for the Youth Connections application for congressionally directed spending, CDS, funds for building transitional housing for homeless young people. Wow. Having read through the action agenda, are there any items you would like to be or have removed for separate discussion of?
Not for me.
Okay. Do we have anyone out here that would like to have any items removed for separate discussion or vote? Seeing none. How about in the Zoom room? Are there any items anyone would like to have taken off the agenda for separate discussion or vote? All right. Seeing none. Do we have a motion?
Madam Chair, I move for approval of the action agenda as presented.
And I will second. We have a motion and a second to approve the action agenda as presented. Any discussion?
Used it up in the reading.
All right. I'll go ahead and call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Motion passes. All right, let's move on to item number 9. Do we have any department heads or elected officials that would like to address the commission? No? All right, I'm not going to put anybody on the spot, but it is tempting. All right, it is past 9:15, so let's move on to item number 10. Public hearings. First, let's do item 10 point. Development code to add to the hearing examiner's authority in Mason County Code Title 17. Zoning code to allow higher residential densities within the Shelton urban growth area by use of the City of Shelton's planned unit development standards. Kel?
Good morning, Commissioners. Kel Rowan with Mason County Planning Department. So Mason County and the City of Shelton jointly want to encourage the development of housing within the urban growth areas, including Shelton urban growth area. And the county's existing regulations, our zoning regulations within the residential zones of Shelton limit the number of housing units. So it is more, there's more allowed than in the rural area, but it's still a limited number. And so the staff is proposing that we adopt the city's planned unit development standards under certain conditions so that developers can take advantage of the higher residential densities. So there are some code amendments that are attached. I won't read those, but I will just briefly describe what they are. One is to Title 15, and that is our development code. And specifically 15.03.050 would add PUDs in Shelton UGA to the hearing examiner review. So it is something that's not administrative. It would be reviewed. Staff would take it to the hearing examiner, and the hearing examiner would make a final decision determining whether or not the proposed planned unit development met the criteria as outlined in the City of Shelton's code. Then in Title 17, which is our development regulations, 1702.022 would add a statement that residential densities may be increased through the use of a PUD where city services, so water and sewer, are provided. And then there's a new section under Title 17.07, which is the Shelton Urban Growth Area zoning. A new section in Article 9, a planned unit development, and the details of the requirements and review procedure for when the use of a PUD is allowed. Staff did take this to the Planning Advisory Commission, and the Planning Advisory Commission voted to recommend approval of the adoption of the amendments. And we did receive several comments. Mackenzie has sent those to you. So we received several comments in support. PUD 3 had sent a comment. It was more of a neutral, just not necessarily support, but just a neutral that they could provide, you know, they would have the power provisions there. And we did not receive any comments not in support.
All right, questions for staff? No. Anyone in the room have questions for staff?
Questions or comments, sorry.
I'll call for comments
Okay.
in just a bit.
I'll wait then, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Anyone in the Zoom room have any questions for staff? All right. We will move on to comments or testimony. Yes, please state your name and where you're from.
Thank you. I'm Jay Hill. I'm the Community Development Director for the City of Shelton, and I wanted to thank staff for bringing this forward. We work closely with them on projects in the UGA, especially where there's a request to extend our utilities from a municipal services perspective. The city, just like the county, is interested in seeing more investment in our community and seeing more rooftops, more housing for all levels of affordability. And so we support this as we think it's going to advance those goals. And so I just wanted to thank you for the opportunity to comment and reiterate the city's support for this. And again, appreciate the collaboration with your staff, who are fantastic. And we have a great working relationship. So thank you for all of that.
All right, thank you. I like your comments too. Our staff is pretty amazing. All right. Anyone in the Zoom room have any comments? Jennifer, please state your name and who you're with.
I've got a weird connection and it's not letting me raise my animated hand. So thanks for seeing that. I just wanted to lend my voice in support of this as well. We submitted a letter of support. As you guys know, housing is a big issue, and the collaborative efforts between the city and the county to make Shelton a desirable place to develop that, especially housing, I think is an excellent move in the right direction. So we definitely support this.
All right, thank you. Anyone else in the Zoom room? Jason.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Is that James?
Appreciate the opportunity to speak as well.
James, could you please state your name and where you're from?
I submitted a letter, but I would like to read it out loud and then and go from there. So I'm a professional civil engineer and vice president of Dragon Wheel Investment Group. And Dragon Wheel is a locally based company made up of leading professionals in design, construction, and the finance sectors that identify and develop projects. We particularly focus on projects that allow us to develop sustainable market rate housing. I'm here in strong support of the proposed amendments to Title 15, Title 17 of the Mason County Code, which, if adopted, would allow landowners and developers, such as Dragon Wheel, to use the City of Shelton's Plan Unit Development Code provisions. This is to develop needed projects at increased density in the Shelton UGA where utilities are available. Having a PUD tool to allow increased density in exchange for enhanced design standards and other amenities provided through the PUD process is necessary to make development of high-quality, sustainable, multifamily projects that are financially viable in Mason County. I believe this is well documented for the need of housing as shown in Mason County Vision 2036. I personally have been working for well over a year to develop a new mixed-use project in the city of Shelton and been working with two separate landowners. These projects are inside the UGA, and I think they're consistent with the county's vision. One project that we actually went through preliminary plan application was 78 unit housing units with a mix unit sizes from studios to 3-bedroom and a small commercial space and a much needed, and this would require much needed extension of sanitary sewer and water extensions, would be at the developer's cost, of course. Although our project was welcomed by the community and the business leaders, I'm sorry, I lost my place there. We've been unable to proceed with this development today because the county's current Shelton UGA zoning codes does not incorporate the PUD provisions necessary to increase the base density to the point where the project is financially viable. This proposed amendments before the commission today will address the critical regulatory gap and allow the project to enter the entitlement phase without having to delay until an actual annexation can occur. So this is important to get any development started. This code allows the landowner or developer to work directly with the City of Shelton to design sewer and water to their codes and specifications at locations they deem necessary for future extension. And and then enter in as a requirement for that and enter into a city's utility extension agreement. So I strongly support this amendment. And importantly, the proposed amendments both directly support and fully are consistent with the Mason County Code, Mason County planning policies, as well as the comprehensive plan, which I outlined in my letter, and I won't go into it this time, but hopefully you will read that. Thank you very much for hearing my thoughts.
All right, thank you, James.
Of course. That's
Okay. All right, do we have anyone else that would like to comment? All right, hearing and seeing none. Let's move on to Commissioner deliberation. Oh, wait, before we do that. Almost forgot.
Did you feel me staring at you?
I felt eyes. Do we have any comments?
We also received letters of support for the proposed amendments from Senator Drew McEwen, Angela Barnes from REMAX, Kristen French, and Sam Tsai.
Great. And I think James's letter was in that also, right?
Mhm, yes.
Okay. All right, now, I don't feel any other eyes on me. Let's move on to Commissioner deliberation.
So, Commissioner, I actually am supportive of every aspect of this and the work that's been put forward. I too am supportive of increasing our housing. It's definitely something that we need. There's no way around that. The only way to handle some of our homeless issues is to have more homes, but the only way to also move people around is to have different levels of homes for them to live in. I have an issue with something that occurs when this happens that I want to clarify, and hopefully in my motion we can overcome it. The issue that I have with it, that is, if we do all this, they will be forced to sign a piece of paper that gives away their right to contest annexation. We would never, to provide services for Belfair, we would never provide services with a letter that says that they can never achieve incorporation or anything like that. It would be inappropriate. For us, as the stewards of our tax base, we also have to worry about our own tax base in the future. If we automatically sign this, they automatically cannot contest it, then 5-10 years from now, we're sitting here in a situation where things are going rough, and without the ability to contest it, we could lose a huge big chunk of our tax base. We can, as you know, we can only go up by 1% plus new construction. Could you imagine a huge chunk of that new construction disappearing from our budget in a year, and we're not prepared for it, and we have to lay people off? I don't think that that's necessary. I also think it's our job to protect the rights of our citizens. The right to be able to choose if they want to be annexed or not be annexed is not something that we should easily sign away, and I'm not prepared to sign away their ability to do that. I'm not saying they shouldn't annex. I'm just saying they should be given the right to discuss it and make the decision themselves. I'm actually have no issue with annexation in any way as long as it goes through the process of allowing them to make their own decisions. When you take that away from them, then they no longer have that decision. We will have done a disservice to them if we move forward with this. We are talking about doing things jointly because we jointly believe that housing is needed. Well, we'll give up this side of it to allow for that to happen. We need the city to give up that one clause. And it can be done very easily by just having a clause in ours that says that the hearings examiner can examine this and ensure that there is no clause for no contest to annexation in order to move forward. If the city wants those hookups and wants those housing, they can just give up that one line and allow those citizens to continue to make their own minds up in the future when the time comes. It also gives us the ability to protect our tax base a little bit better. But the idea of those rights are very important. And so with that, I will be making a motion for moving forward with this with that added verbiage.
And so right now, that is nowhere in either Title 15, 17, or any other, maybe I should ask Kel. So that language is nowhere else in our code.
Correct. I believe Commissioner Netherland is speaking to a City of Shelton provision that when they extend their city services outside of city boundaries, the developer is required to sign a no contest waiver so that they can't protest annexation in the future. And so we don't address that in our code in any way. So that's something that can be done now. We saw the Peacock, we got a notice for Peacock Ridge is going to, because they're adjacent to the city and the city's has the ability to annex them in now, they're going to go ahead and do that. But so they don't have to sign a no contest because they're just going to be within the city. But in this case, they're not able to annex this particular piece of property that Dragon Wheel is speaking of. Although this amendment would impact the entire Shelton UGA where residential development is allowed, but the first development on hand is with Dragon Wheel, and they're not able to annex into the city at this time.
Okay. So this is just to be clear, this is just for the Shelton UGA.
Correct.
Okay, so okay, I'm working through my head. Do we know how much it will, so we're thinking taxes too. So do we know how much currently is paid to the county?
Well, there's the properties in question are mostly undeveloped. There's a duplex on one property, but this would be, typically undeveloped properties that would now be able to take advantage of the PUD standards and develop at a density that would allow a developer to actually get a return on investment, even though they're spending monies on infrastructure and bringing the city infrastructure out there. Otherwise, they're not able to do that.
Right. Well, I know one of the requirements we have as a government is that we have to make sure the services are available. So the property right now, is that zoned, is it designated forest land? Do you know?
I don't think so. And that would be an assessor designation. It's zoned mixed use. The Dragon Wheel piece is zoned mixed use. And I do not know what the assessor designation is. It has the duplex on it. There are some other undeveloped properties, but I doubt they're in forest land or designated forest.
Peacock Ridge.
It's not.
Okay.
It is not. Thank you, sir.
He needs to mute.
We'll have, James, if you could raise your hand, and then I'll call on you in just a moment.
Okay, thank you.
Citizen, yeah. James, if you could mute in the meantime, that'd be appreciated. Thank you.
Sorry about that.
It's all right.
Okay. My head is swirling.
Can I?
You can tell, right? Okay, yeah. Swimming. Anyway, it's chaos.
On the paid to the county now, the idea, the worry is in 5-10 years when we have $1 million or so disappear out of our budget without the ability to argue with it or anything like that. That's my worry on that. I want to make clear there's a little misnomer when it comes to providing services, because we've also been going through that through Belfair. The law actually does not say we have to provide the services. We have to plan for the providing of services. If the law actually had said that, because I went through that years ago with the other planning, if the law had actually said that, then every county, everything would be bankrupt, because there's no way they can afford just to sewer everything. So just providing for the plans and stuff is what the actual requirement is.
I think Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and we just can't, we couldn't afford to sewer everybody. It's just not possible. But on this one here, as I said, I'm not saying that they can't annex, I'm not saying that, or any of that stuff. What I'm saying is it cannot and should not be a provision in order to hook up and to get this new zoning ability, the ability to build so many houses. That's the only thing I'm saying, that it should not be part of that requirement in order to do it. That part should be waived. Then everybody gets what they need, and if they want to annex it in 10 years, they still can.
Mm-hmm.
They just have to ask and get a vote of the people that are there and give them the right to actually have a say.
And can I ask Jay a question? Jay, when this was brought before the city, or has it been brought before the city yet?
We haven't received like a formal project submittal for if we're referring just to the Dragon Wheel, or are we talking about the code amendments? Sorry.
For me, this is not just Dragon Wheel. This is all of the UGA. So it's not. I'm not being specific to one developer or anything else. I'm looking at the entire UGA. And so if this was brought to the city, or was it brought to the city council for review?
Your code amendments, or your code amendments haven't been reviewed by the city council. We didn't bring that to them.
No.
Can I use this opportunity to kind of explain our process and how that works? So
I would appreciate that.
Okay, so when someone comes to us, our city code within Title 17 gives us the opportunity to extend services outside of the UGA, provided that they agree to meet city standards and sign the no protest agreement. So it's a voluntary process. We don't force anybody to sign the agreement. It's an exchange. They agree to sign it in exchange for the provision of city utilities, and so there's that. The alternative is, in the absence of a no protest agreement, if these proposed changes were made, we could simply just require annexation at the outset in exchange for these services. And so they could just come to us with the petition, annex, and then go through the development process, which would immediately bring them into the city's tax rolls and immediately bring them in instead of at some future time. So what we were trying to do was give developers, applicants, property owners a little bit more flexibility in some cases where maybe annexation doesn't make sense immediately. They're not contiguous. We have some issues with extending the services out, to a broader area, and so we need to kind of limit it, tightline it. So in that respect, we thought the no protest agreement gave them more flexibility to get projects going sooner instead of just requiring annexation at the outset. But that is an alternative, that we could just require that from the get-go to extend the services, so that's kind of our dual process right now for extending utilities.
Okay.
And it is also an opportunity that you could, through your council, have that provision removed. It's not one or the other only. You could still have that provision removed as a requirement for moving out there. There's no law that, through the state or through your funding, that says you have to do that.
I'm not aware of anything that says that we have to require that. And if our commission, or if our council wanted to, but that's on their volition. Staff would definitely not recommend that, but that's their purview is development of our code.
And they can already annex now. Any of them that want to annex that are contiguous can already annex.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's not like anything is changing there.
Okay. Mark.
So just a clarification. The only ones that could annex would be the ones that were contiguous to the current. So you couldn't annex something that was outside of that border of the current city of Shelton limits, right? So it would limit the potential development of higher densities in areas that are not contiguous with the current city border, if you just...
It could. We would have to do kind of a cost-benefit scenario to determine if, if we have to extend further and we have to bring in more properties, or we have to take on some road responsibilities to be able to reach that, we need to determine, is the juice worth the squeeze? Is there enough development out there to serve that warrants the extension? So some calculus needs to be done. That's absolutely correct. And so in some cases it may not make sense to annex at all if the no protest wasn't available. So.
Okay. All right,
Thank
thank you. Sorry. You can just continue standing up there if you want.
I was available.
I don't know, I would,
Well, it'd be as simple as you say no, and this thing goes away at the moment.
right,
But at the same time, I haven't made the motion yet, but I'll make the motion and you can make your determination. But again, the way I'm looking at it is I think I'm trying to protect the rights of the citizens. I'm trying to protect the tax base the best I can for the properties that are within the county at this point. And if it is truly joint and we want to give the ability to do these things, I don't think there's anything wrong with asking the city to give up that one aspect so that they can get the customers that they need, and eventually maybe they can annex it if they do it. The only thing that I'm asking for is that we give up the forced concept of annexation. If the citizens that buy in, the 100 homes or 150 homes that buy in, be able to have a vote at the end of it and say, yes, I want to, or no, I don't want to. And I think it's my job to protect their right. But other than that, I like this. I think it should go forward. And I think the city should immediately just say, hey, that's not even an actual issue. We need the customers. We can make it an issue, but that'd be up to the city. We can't decide if they want to help with the housing as they say they want to do and let that be their reason why they won't, because we are asking for something special within the county. There's nothing that says it has to be exactly what the city wants anyway. It just doesn't work that way. We don't get anything from them that we've ever asked for to be exactly like that, so I don't know why it would be any different now. But in order to protect them and our tax base the best that I can, I'll make a motion if you'd like to hear it right now, or would you rather have a discussion for a while?
no, go ahead with your motion.
Okay. Let me see if I can word this right. Madam Chair, I move for approval of ordinance amending the Mason County Code Title 15 Development Code to add the hearings examiner's authority and Mason County Code Title 17 zoning code to allow higher residential densities within the Shelton Urban Growth Area, UGA, by the use of the City of Shelton's planned use development standards, with the addition that the hearings examiner will ensure that there is no non-contest to annexation included in those agreements. And that this only be able to be approved if that provision is removed.
Yes.
So Commissioner Netherland, I'm just trying to kind of picture this in my head, how that would work, right? So if that moved forward, then those properties that were adjacent to the current city boundaries that wanted to get city utilities in order to develop higher densities, they could annex, much like I kind of envisioning Peacock Ridge is doing right now, right? So before any development goes up there, they're annexing into the city. They get annexed into the city. They actually go through the city's regulations for all the development that happens up there. Doesn't go through the county at all. So for those pieces of property that are currently undeveloped or want to be developed into a different density, the property owner would most likely want to annex prior to doing the development. The pieces that are, one last piece to that, and then absolutely interested in your feedback, is those pieces of property that are not adjacent to the current city boundary. The city would have to then determine, do we want to annex all the way out to where that property is? Or they would, what Commissioner Netherland is asking, is that if they do hook up to water and sewer utilities, that they are not required to sign a no contest for future annexation. Is that?
No, everything that you said can already occur. That has nothing to do with this. They can already annex and go through the annexation process. Absolutely. None of that changes. That has nothing to do with what's before us today.
Okay.
What's before us today is if we want to take advantage of this, in our areas, in the county, they already allowed certain growth areas. We have areas where, and we know that although something may not pencil or may pencil today, that's the argument, it doesn't work that way. We have developments that we just passed through here recently where we rezoned properties, 1 home per 5 acres, and they're moving forward with it. We just did that outside Lakeland. Lakeland itself is already zoned for 6 per acre. We have areas in the urban growth area of Shelton that they can do 12 per acre. So we already know it can already be done. All this can already be done within our provision. But if they want to do up to 24 per acre, which we don't have a provision for in the Shelton UGA, then they would have to use this code that we're putting in place now. But in order to do that, in order to have the big multi-family thing like that, they would need to get permission from the city already to get the services. My thing is, in order to get this zone, they also have to give up, the city has to give up the provision to no contest annexation. But everything you said is accurate, but they can already do all that today without any of this. This is only in regards to this action, this zone change, or allowed use in a zone. It's not even a zone change. Yeah, it is, actually. What do you call this? Because we're going under their code. Are you allowing it under a...
It's development regulation changes within the zone. So all the residential zones would allow the use of the PUD, planned unit development. We could have come up with our own planned unit development standards, but in the planning world, sometimes we like to plagiarize from other jurisdictions, and the city of Shelton has PUD provisions in place, and so we opted to do that. We're also in the process of updating them, and so we thought, when they get updated, our code would still apply to their planned unit development standards. And eventually, the urban growth areas are set for future growth of the city. I mean, that's the purpose of the urban growth areas. Allen and Belfair are unique. Although not totally unique in the state, but they are unique in that they don't have an incorporated city. And so the urban growth areas are meant for, the eventual annexation for the city. So that's why we opted with the planned unit development standards for the city of Shelton rather than our own.
So
but it's a development regs change
within the zone. Yeah, which is a little different. We've done that before with years of different things.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at. So it doesn't change any of that. Everything you mentioned they can already do or choose not to do. This is just if we create this change within a zone, within a zoning regulation, that in order to take advantage of it, there also has to be no requirement for no contest. That's all.
I would feel comfortable, or I would like to table this until the 14th, because I would like to reach out to the city and talk to them a little bit more on, because we have such a great relationship with the city right now that for my comfort in passing this or going with your amendment, I would like to reach out to the city and just get a little bit more information from them.
Well, especially since we're missing one commissioner, I've in my whole history, I've never denied the ability to continue it for further information, and I wouldn't do that now. So if you would make that motion, I'll second it.
Okay. I would move to table this hearing until March 14th.
Is that our next one?
So this is a public hearing. We could continue the hearing as soon as March 6th. I'm not sure about the time.
7th, I think. The 7th
Actually,
is a
March
Tuesday.
6th, we have a commission briefing, so we could just tie it on to that, because we'd have to do announcements
Yeah.
to people to let them know that we're continuing this public hearing. So I think that we could tie that on to the 6th. I'm not sure about timelines and
That's if the goal is to have the third commissioner, but if she needs to get more information, she may need more time.
may need to go to the 14th, so if you want.
Because I'm the one that mentioned that to him, but that's if you want, because I never like to leave a commissioner out if I disagree. But if that's not the case, if you actually need more time to do it, then I want to get you the time that you need to.
Yeah. Would the 14th be okay? Would that work?
For the city?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I can speak for the city. We'll make the 14th work. We'll be
Okay.
in attendance on that.
And you'll make sure that I can talk to city folks too?
Correct, yes.
Appreciate
and
that.
all the commissioners have provided, open meetings, that stuff, but everybody's welcome to join
Okay.
us.
Okay. So to the 14th?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, want me to say it again?
You want to make the motion? Or? Madam Chair, I move that we table this hearing until after our meeting, or to be put into the end of our meeting on the 14th of March.
And I'll second that. So we have a motion and a second to table this until after our meeting on March 14th.
Table it to add to the agenda.
To the end of the agenda on the 14th.
Thank you. Get that, Mackenzie? Yeah. Good. All right, any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Phew. No, this is a great discussion, and I appreciate it. So, and thank you for moving it on. All right, let's move on to item 10.2. This is a public hearing to consider corrections to the future land use map and development areas zoning map for the following parcels: 42022-21-00010, 61922-33-00010, 61918-33-00010, 42107-13-00010, 42015-33-60010, and 42015-33-00000. Marissa.
Thank you. Marissa Watson with the Planning Department again. The Community Development Department has discovered parcels that are incorrectly mapped on our county GIS layers. We usually discover this when a landowner comes into our office inquiring about the permitted uses of their parcels, or when other departments call us in regards to research of parcels. So we put a list together of parcels that are incorrectly mapped on the GIS layers. These parcels are listed on our spreadsheets and in proofing logs from the early 2000s with the correct designation or zoning. Resource lands and rural area designations in Mason County were approved in 1995, mapped in June 2000. In an effort to provide the most accurate information to the public and our offices, DCD will periodically bring forth these corrections to the Planning Advisory Commission and the Board of County Commissioners for approval. So map corrections are not considered rezones, so we don't review it against the 8 rezone criteria. They are also exempt from SEPA per WAC 197.11.800 Section 6. The PAC had a public hearing on these particular map corrections at their January meeting and recommended the BOCC approve the map corrections. And so staff in the PAC are recommending the BOCC adopt amendment to the Mason County Future Land Use Map and Development Areas Zoning Map, correcting parcels 42015-33-00000, 42015-333-60010, 61918-33-00010, and 61922-33-00010 from long-term commercial forest lands to inholding lands, correcting parcel 42022-21-00010 from rural natural resource lands to rural residential 10, and correcting 42107-13-0010 from long-term commercial forest lands to agricultural resource lands. And if you have any questions.
Questions for staff? Anyone in the room or in Zoom have questions?
Anyone in the room?
All right. Hearing and seeing none, move on to public comment. Do we have any public comment from the room or the Zoom room? Hearing and seeing none, we'll move on to commissioner deliberation or motion.
Madam Chair, I move for the adoption of the amendments to the Mason County Future Land Use Map and Development Areas Zoning Map, correcting parcels 42015-33-00000, 42015-33-6010, 61918-33-0010, and 61922-33-00010 from long-term commercial forest lands, LTCF, to inholding lands, IH, correcting parcel 42022-21-00010 from rural natural resource lands, RNR, to rural residential 10, RR10, and correcting parcel 42107-13-00010 from long-term commercial forest lands, LTCF, to agricultural resource lands, AG.
And I'll second that motion. All right, we have a motion and a second to adopt the amendments to the Mason County Future Land Use Map and Development Area zoning maps for the correcting parcels 42015-33-000-0000, 4215-33-60010, 61918-33-00010, and 61922-33-00010 from long-term commercial forest land to inholding lands, correcting parcel 42022-21-00010 from rural natural resource lands to rural residential 10, and correcting parcel 42107-13-00010 from long-term commercial forest lands to agricultural resource lands. Any discussion? I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Marissa. All right, let's move on to item number 11, boards, calendars, and reports. You go, then I'll go.
Okay, executive session for housing under the Mason County Housing Authority, or Olympic Regional Clean Air Authority meeting, Mason County Housing Authority regular meeting, a meeting of the financial group for the Olympic Regional Clean Air Authority. We had an incredible, I'm going to take a minute on this one. We had a pinning ceremony up in North Mason that occurred on the 15th. Congressman Kilmer had done this for us several years back, and he had told me at the time if I can put together, 6-8, that he would come out and do it again. So I reached out, and because of COVID, we were not able to put it together when we did. So we had 6 days notice to put it together, got the news out to everybody, and I knew I was going to be able to get more than the 8, but we did a little better than that. When it was all over with, I think I'm up to 87 right now that we were able to pin. We had more than 150 that attended the actual ceremony to support everybody and clap it on. The room was absolutely packed. They were sitting in the aisle, so I don't know how many came in and left. I just don't. And a lot of the pins came afterwards because they couldn't come into the building, so they showed up afterwards to get pins afterwards. Then there's been others that we've been taken to in the hospital, and a few others that missed out. But I want to thank Congressman Kilmer for coming out and doing it himself. It's really spectacular. A couple years back, the Congress got together and finally decided they were going to put together a pin in recognition of the people that served during the Vietnam era. They came back and they were not treated very well, and they were not appreciated or thanked. This was our nation's way of finally giving thank you to them. So this pin was created, and the idea of actually having the congressman thanking them on behalf of a grateful nation was much better than having Randy do it. We do the best we can, though, right? So with that, I just wanted to say it was a great success, and our community is filled with veterans. We are in such a great place. Nobody will ever touch us because they'd be afraid of all those veterans running around there. And a 70-year-old veteran, boy, I got to tell you, they don't have any limits. They don't care. So God bless them. So with that, also had a meeting of audit committee. I met with the director of the ARC. Beards Cove asked us to put together a meeting, and the sheriff came and attended, as well as a couple of his lieutenants, to talk about some of the issues when it comes to crime, but more importantly, animal control and the opportunities that we may have to do something with it. With that, I've been reaching out, looking at different avenues and trying to find different ways of things that we can do to put it together. But working with the sheriff, he's very open-minded on how to do it. So I think we're going to have something coming soon so we could actually get this taken care of and get it behind us. At least that's the hope. Peninsula Regional Transportation Organization Executive Board meeting. Then had a meeting at the State Transportation Investment Strategy Workshop. Mason Transit Authority And I can't read my own writing for the last one. So then I know after this I have the North Mason School Board balance schedule. I have, I don't usually do these, but I may attend that grand opening of Sweet Time Massage ribbon cutting. The Law Enforcement and Firefighters Board, Olympic Regional Clean Air Authority Board, also Finance and Personnel meeting in regards to wages and their compensation strategies. And that should bring us back and do things again.
All right, great. I did attend the town hall that Kilmer had also right after the Mason Transit meeting. Looking further down the road, of a Republican Women's meeting tomorrow at noon, LSC roundtable, Wednesday night. Thursday is the LSC meeting, plus a Public Works Board Executive Committee meeting, Public Works Board Traditional Committee, and I don't know if you're interested or not, but this weekend is a home show. It's a home remodeling show, and it's also fight night, so I will be going to both.
Is it fight night because when I bring my wife, she wants to do this, and I don't want to do this at the home show? Is that what?
I don't know. I think it depends on whether there's elbows. Or
yeah, well, she is. She's elbows. No, she's not. My wife's incredible. I got.
Yes.
Are you a youth?
Oh, yes.
I'm former, but
Yes.
yeah.
It's so much fun.
amazing.
So much fun. Then we have briefing on Monday, Wasac Virtual Assembly, the EDC Legislative Steering Committee meeting, local emergency management meeting, business after hours at Maple Glen Senior Living, EDC meeting. It's also Public Works Board Day on the Hill. And I also have an executive committee meeting for Public Works Board, Pack Mountain executive meeting, Public Works Board meeting on Friday, LSC meeting. Every Friday they have an update for what's going on at the legislature. And then I will be meeting with the city on the 10th, which is comes in very handy right now. We have our briefing on the 13th, Wasac Virtual Assembly, and then commission meeting on the 14th, and we start it all over again.
Yeah.
Yay. Yay. All right.
Madam Chair, I move we adjourn.
I'll second that. We're adjourned.